talk about Loudoun County for a moment and the Board of Supervisors chairwoman, Phyllis Randall. She's kind of a cartoon character. She's been wasting taxpayer money and flying all over the world to party it up, great accommodations, getting souvenirs, taking photos, for no obvious benefit to the people of Loudoun County. Here's Phyllis Randall speaking to Nick Minach in July about this very interesting scandal.
At the area around the hotel?
We did not.
I know there's a beach nearby.
We did not. We worked every day. When we are over there, we are incredibly busy. Many meetings in a short amount of time.
Oh, many meetings during our exotic vacations. We don't have time to enjoy anything. Well, then why didn't you do it on Zoom? Why do you have to go to faraway beaches in order to do this work if you're so very busy? You're tied up on the computer. Just work the whole time.
Well, I know there's cabinet members who do the same kind of travel more frequently than you do. And they
cabinet
fly.
Members?
Yep, Pete Buttigieg, for example, flies economy.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't seem to have a problem, and I don't see him on Polaris business on United.
Well, then that's one. The Pete Buttigieg is not the chief elected official of the federal government. I am the chief elected official of the county.
Yeah. Wait until Pete Buttigieg gets a real job, like being the chairwoman of the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors. For more on this, let's bring in Phyllis Randall's opponent. Gary Katz is here. He's running for chairman of Loudoun County Board of Supervisors and joins us now. Hello, Gary. Good to have you with us, sir.
Hi, thank you, Vince. Good to be here.
It's still amazing. Of course, sure. It's still amazing to me that Phyllis Randall and friends can say with a straight face that, no, they weren't wasting anybody's money. It was totally fine for them to fly all over the world. How does that serve Loudoun County?
Poorly. I think the number of lies that we've seen in Loudoun County and through Phyllis Randall are just beyond the pale for most all voters at this point. I mean, the astonishment that they went on these trips in the first place, claiming that there was economic benefit, is just preposterous. Ghana, by the way, as reported by CNN this past Friday, is apparently in the dark with power outages due to its crumbling economy. Perhaps Phyllis should have listened to her Department of Economic Development and their guidance to not go to Ghana instead of steamrolling them in order to appease a campaign donor. Then when she was caught with, red-handed, basically grifting off of public money, she lied about it. She put out revenue numbers saying that there were billions of dollars of return. Then she pulled that number back, claimed that there were millions of dollars of return. That number's never been substantiated. Just last week, we were at a forum and she said that there was over 400% return on her international travel, and yet none of it has been substantiated whatsoever. And heaven forbid you hold Phyllis Randall accountable, she will attack you. She will attack you the way that she attacked WJLA and called them yellow journalists. She'll attack Loudoun Now by calling them racist. She'll attack her colleagues on the board by accusing them of grandstanding and using parliamentarian tricks to quash motions that would have quelled the travel policies. The message is very clear. If you disagree or dare to hold Phyllis Randall accountable, then you're the problem. That is a big issue in Loudoun County. That's the sign of unhealthy leadership.
How did it get to the point where Loudoun County officials felt so comfortable with keeping secrets from the public and exploiting public resources for their own benefit?
That's a really good question. I think that is a question of moral and ethical fiber. I think that when people, when they believe people are not paying attention, they just start to use public money for their own personal self-interest. And that's unfortunately something that you see happen at times with career politicians. But people are paying attention and they are focusing on this, and they're very upset about this. Not just the conservative folks. Democrats are upset about this and recognize that this is errant fraud, waste, and abuse that insults our intelligence and our sense of decency as to what government is supposed to be doing. So I think it's a measure of they become way too comfortable in power for way too long, and they're concerned about it. And they're starting to act like they're concerned about it because they realize that their constituents are, in fact, now paying much closer attention. And this is going to be the election of accountability. Accountability is on the ballot in Loudoun County at all levels of government.
Let me ask you about some of Phyllis Randall's statements of late as they relate to the Hamas terrorist attack on Israel. Phyllis Randall has posted some things to Facebook, and you have been, and I'm seeing, for instance, the Loudoun Times-Mirror is a headline on this subject. Randall accused of anti-Semitism amid Hamas attacks against Israel. And Gary Katz, the story starts on you going after her for this. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, so Phyllis Randall posted a picture called Bainesy, which is basically a perversion of The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which is a movie about a child in the Holocaust, a Jewish child who befriends the child of a Nazi SS member. And the child of the Nazi SS member sees the Jewish boy behind the barbed wire, and he's the boy in the striped pajamas because they're children and they don't know any better. However, in the picture that Phyllis posted, it was a picture of a Palestinian child behind the barbed wire, and then a Jewish child outside the barbed wire wearing a Star of David yarmulke on his head and with the letters BDS, which represent boycott, divestment, sanctions, written on his foot. So it basically vilifies Jews as the tormentors of Palestinians. And that is just absolutely wrong. And you show that picture to most any Jewish circle, they're going to say, oh, no, that is flagrantly anti-Semitic. And instead of owning it and saying, oh, hey, I didn't mean to do this, I didn't recognize what it was, or saying I was trying to do something that was helpful, she doubled and tripled down in saying that she did nothing wrong, and then pulled in her Jewish friend to hide behind her Jewish friend to say that, oh, no, I didn't do it, this person did it. And then we find out that her chief of staff, beyond all of that, apparently has a very long and well-noted history of anti-Semitism, misogyny, and anti-LGBTQ statements, all popped up in the same week. And when confronted on this, she did nothing. She did nothing. And I assure you that if these were other issues pertaining to matters that concerned her, she would have acted on them immediately. Instead, other members of the Board of Supervisors rubber-stamped this non-apology apology given by her chief of staff, calling it mudslinging and, something that he did in his youth. Some of these tweets were from 2020. This isn't the actions of just a 19-year-old. By the way, even if it was just the actions of a 19-year-old, those kinds of sentiments generally don't go away and still should roundly be decried, and they weren't. And to your question, Vince, he didn't call out Hamas specifically. He's not overtly said, I absolutely decry the absolute atrocities committed by Hamas against the Jewish people and the people of Israel, whom they are indiscriminately slaughtering, regardless of whether they are Jewish, whether they are Muslim, whether they're Christian or secular. The rockets don't ask you what you are before they murder you. The savages who went into Israel do not ask the people what they are before they savage them. They just went in there as a bunch of barbarians and killed and maimed indiscriminately to physically, emotionally, spiritually, politically, geographically say that the state of Israel should be no more. And they wanted to put that mark on the entire Jewish world by sending that message. That should have been roundly decried by everyone, quickly and swiftly and affirmatively.
Yeah, the savaged is definitely the right word for what Hamas did on October 7th as terrorists raided into Israel and raped and murdered and kidnapped and beheaded all sorts of people in Israel. And that was October 7th. Just 2 days later is when Phyllis Randall is posting a graphic that is treating Jewish people as the oppressors. I mean, you've got, basically there's really only two options, and neither of them are very good, Gary. Either she's a complete moron or she really doesn't care what happened to the Israelis here.
Well, I'll leave that to folks to decide on their own, but I'll say this. When a bunch of Jewish constituents went in to go and speak about the anti-Semitism, there was a very interestingly timed phone call that was made during public comment where she stepped away from the dais to take a personal call ostensibly regarding a family matter, and then conveniently came back after the Jewish speakers were done speaking. And she knows who the speakers are and what topics they're going to be speaking on. So when you gauge what time your phone call is going to be, you can pretty much approximate when the time to step away and avoid accountability is.
That's just dirty.
I think that speaks volumes.
That's just dirty. It definitely does. Gary Katz, tell me how early voting is going in your assessment, sir.
So early voting is going well. Quantitatively, we're seeing stronger Republican turnout. But I got to tell you, when we meet with people who are at early voting, regardless of where they stand on the political spectrum, people are upset about what they're seeing in Loudoun County. And this is an absolutely consequential election for Loudoun, for sure, at all levels of government. We're seeing people turn out who want to see a return to normalcy. We're not seeing the traditional, oh, it's just early voting, so therefore you're going to see only blue color ballots go in. We're seeing both blue and red, and at times just a lot more red ballots going in for early voting, showing that there's a very real concern amongst the constituency. People are paying attention, as well they should be.
Yeah, and it's so important that people get out there and do that. One, just obviously get it over with, but as you've heard from Governor Glenn Youngkin and others, secure your vote. If you have any concern whatsoever about the sanctity of the vote in the Commonwealth, make sure that your name is affiliated with the actual vote you want to cast by getting it in as soon as possible. Early voting, a big deal, and definitely the key here, Gary, is to convince every family member and friend you have who wants to make a positive change in Virginia to join you in that endeavor, no?
Absolutely. If you've already voted, that's wonderful. Grab 10 friends who haven't and bring them and help get them to vote. If you haven't voted, make a voting party. Go out with your friends to go vote together. Make it something to celebrate, because it should be. If we are successful, it should be something to celebrate regardless. But certainly in this absolutely most crucial election, we have a lot of good candidates on the ballot, a lot of first-time candidates like myself. I stand on the shoulders of giants, Vince. My only regret with this entire election is that I didn't enter it earlier. There are many good people on the ballot at all levels, on Board of Supervisor, school board, who are looking to do the right thing for our local community here, as well as our constitutional officers. Get out and vote.
Gary Katz, should you prevail, and should a bunch of the other people who are a part of the Sanity Caucus prevail in Loudoun County, how much do things change there for Loudoun?
It's going to be night and day. If we prevail and we're able to gain majority, it will be night and day. We're going to return Loudoun County to the Loudoun County that many of us moved here for the good schools, for the wealthiest county in the country, so that we can actually provide for our families as a wonderful, be able to raise your children, not to turn it into what it's become over the past 4 years, which is just absolutely the antithesis of what families come to Loudoun County in order to provide for. Yep. We need to have real solutions. We need to not pay lip service to solutions. We need to take care of those in Loudoun County who are genuinely in need, instead of making it seem like we are, but actually doing very little. There are real issues in Loudoun County. We need to start paying to those real economic issues, so the people across the entire economic strata are bettered by what's taking place, as opposed to focusing on issues that are virtue signaling at best, but not really providing any relief or assistance for those folks who are struggling to make ends meet in Loudoun County.
Right. And finally, Gary Katz, should you become the new chairman of the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors, which exotic tropical paradise do you plan on spending your time in?
1 Harrison Street, right in downtown Leesburg. Government building. I plan to be there quite a bit, and I'll put a little picture of a palm tree behind me.
Okay, amen. The palm tree picture, we'll be looking for that. Gary Katz, thank you very much, sir. Good luck. Thank you for being on with us.